Hello, everybody. John here from the esports department. As you might be able to tell already, my voice is still not fixed, unfortunately, so I'm not going to be able to go as in depth as I would like to go on this slate, given that it's the one that has the big $555. Um, I would love to go into a little bit more depth on this slate, but as long as I can only half speak, it's going to be a little tough. So, starting off the night, we've got LGD plus 280. They're 2-6 on the season, up against LNG minus 425, 5-5 on the season. Worth noting that LNG is going back to Makuya for this slate. They've been playing with Ale. They're going to go back to Makuya. They do have a better record with Makuya, I believe. I do think Ale is probably the better individual player, but if Makuya is working better with the team, I'm not going to argue with them. Either way, this is a stat whitewash type matchup for LNG. Statistically, just significantly better than LGD everywhere, as you would expect with almost anyone against LGD. But not really a place that we're looking to score. LGD does have a really high DPL, but LNG has just consistently not been in high-scoring games this year. They're a team that is controlling the pace of their games and is not controlling them in a way that's good for you as a DFS player. It feels to me like this matchup is probably pretty fadeable. If I'm going to play it, obviously I'm going to play the LNG side. I don't think I'm going to go to the LGD side, even in the bigger fields. The biggest type of fields, the $15 and $20, you can play the LGD, but it doesn't feel like a spot that I'm super excited about as far as this slate goes. I think there's going to be better places to get some value than trying to go with LGD. LNG, though, I think is playable with at least, like, a bullet or two in some of these tournaments. And something like the 555, I think LNG's ownership is probably going to be decent enough that you could play a team like LNG. Makuya might even give you a little bit of extra edge. There's always going to be some people that miss the lineup news, so worth looking at that. Next matchup, Rare Atom plus 165. They're 7-3 on the season, up against FPX minus 210, 8-3 on the season. It's a surging Rare Atom crashing into a sort of unsteady looking FPX. I think FPX is probably this is probably a pretty reasonable line. They could certainly lose to Rare Atom here. I think Rare Atom is on a bit of a surge, like I said, and FPX with Beishwan, I don't think they're 100% there yet. However, the stats are obviously pretty clearly towards FPX. It's a little tricky with this matchup because you have to think that FPX is a little bit different from when they had Bo as an example for most of the season, and they had Tion for a lot of the season. Beishwan's only been here for 2 matches so far, but they're 1-1, and I think the schedule in those 2 games was pretty tough. WE and JDG, I think, and they're 2-2 in those 4 games. The stats aren't super lopsided. It's only a 3% Dragon Edge for them. They do have an edge in both First Blood and First Turret. About 100, or about 90 in gold differential per minute, a little over 100 in gold per minute, and about 800 at 15 minutes. So it still looks very good for FPX. That said, I think Rare Atom is a pretty live underdog, especially with the Beishwan still trying to get used to it and how well Leon has played this year. This matchup, the 17.8 DPL is not as high as LGD's, but when they're playing against an 18.9 kill per win team like FPX, FPX looks pretty exciting in the matchup, I think. On the Rare Atom side, 16 kill per win to a 17-1 death per loss. Not the most exciting, especially for the LPL, but I still think Rare Atom is extremely, extremely playable. We'll have a look when we look at the projections later. But both of these teams seem extremely playable to me in any field size. And then we get the real banger, RNG minus 105, 9-1 on the season, up against EDG minus 125, 9-1 on the season. So the 2 9-1 LPL teams going at it, and it's very close. EDG with an 1889 gold per minute to RNG's 1904. Slight advantage in gold differential per minute to EDG at 209 versus 183. First Blood and First Turret, we get First Turret for EDG, First Blood for RNG, a 4% Dragon advantage for EDG, and a 550-ish gold differential of 15 advantage for EDG. But these teams are extremely close, and looking at these RNG numbers, 18.3, 19.8, very, very large numbers. They've been the highest scoring LPL team this split as far as like actual fantasy scoring. I'm pretty sure RNG is the highest. I'm not sure if they have the highest kill per win and death per loss because some teams like Invictus are really high too, but Invictus I know has significantly lower kill participation. EDG, not been super exciting. They're a team that I sometimes fade, but in this matchup, this feels like a lock matchup to me. Um, I think probably if I'm making lineups tonight for something big, probably one of these two teams is going in there. I have to look at their pricing. I can see that Viper and Gala are both at least reasonably expensive. 7,400 versus 76, so no, those are actually pretty cheap. I was overestimating based on that captain pricing. Scout only at 7,000, Crying at 6,800. Yeah, these guys are going to be lock central for me this matchup in GPPs. In cash, it is a tough matchup to play in cash. I'm not sure I can even really mess with it unless I just want to take a gamble on, thinking that I'm real confident in EDG or really confident in RNG. What you have going on in this matchup for me is EDG with the better bottom lane with Viper and Mako, RNG with the better mid jungle in Wei and Cryan, and then back to EDG with an advantage in the top lane. So we always say like mid jungle might be the most important duo in the game, and that's where RNG's strength is. But EDG controls the other three positions, and it just kind of comes down to what you value out of that. I think this is an insanely good matchup, and it's one that I'm going to be pretty close to 100% on for DFS GPPs tonight. I'm sure I will play both sides, and I'll play them with a mixture of other teams. But I think RNG and EDG are going to be in every lineup. These two teams also, I think, have a really high potential to play a 3-game series where the games that one of the teams loses are like very high scoring. I could definitely see like EDG winning 2 games with 18 or 19 kills and then losing a game where they get 14 or 15 kills, which can really push your score through the roof. So for me, it's RNG, EDG, every single lineup for GPPs, I think. There might be one like hedge lineup where I don't run those two, but those two are going to be extremely high priority for me. Over in the LCK, Damwon Gaming at minus 650, 11-1 on the season, up against Afrika Freaks, plus 400, 4-8 on the season. The advantages are all going to be Damwon. The thing for me with this matchup is this feels like the trap matchup to me for the slate. And I'm hoping that I'm not wrong about that in the end. But this feels like the trap matchup. This feels, with looking at a 17 kill per win up against a 16 death per loss for Afrika, and then 16.3 to 17.8. This feels like the matchup that is Damwon Gaming is going to garner a bunch of ownership, and this is where the trap is. I think those LPL matchups make much better plays than Damwon here, but we'll see where the projections lie out, because I believe the projections if they tell me that Damwon's a better play than I think they are. But off the top of my head, Damwon is the trap matchup. They're also a consistent lineup, so people don't mind playing them, which varies from our second matchup of the day. But this off the top of my head feels like the trap spot. Obviously, Damwon should be a big favorite. That said, Afrika has been on a bit of a tear lately. They've been a lot better in their recent matchups than they were before. You could definitely play Afrika as a live underdog here. They're certainly more live than Sandbox was last night. So Afrika very live to win if you want a big field GPP underdog to take a shot on. And I like the Afrika side of this matchup a lot more than the Damwon side, mostly because of ownership. The last matchup of the day, the Telecom War, which is usually really fun to watch in Korea. T1 at minus 260, they're 6-7 on the season, up against KT, who is plus 190, 5-7 on the season. People are just sick to death of T1, as they should be. T1 and their switching lineups, their inconsistency, no matter which lineup they're playing, they go from being a great team to a terrible team to all right to mediocre. And they're playing the second matchup of the day again here. That's just my rule this season. I'm not going to break it today. If T1 is in the second matchup of the series, I just don't play them. Especially coming off a loss where we have almost no idea what they're planning on doing. If some news comes out on Weibo or somewhere like that in the next few hours that gives us some idea who T1 is considering, I might play them as a small stack in one of my tournaments, just to try to get a little bit better ownership or get a better stack somewhere else if possible. But I just don't play T1 in the second match of the day. I think it's overall probably been a pretty winning proposition for me to avoid them. KT, could they upset? Absolutely. KT's extremely live dog. Whether you're going to get their starters right isn't necessarily a guarantee either, but it's gotten a lot easier as of recent. You should be able to get a pretty reasonable guess on who they're playing at least. As a small stack, you can probably avoid any problems with them. So they should be at least pretty safe, and they're definitely a live dog to win this matchup. Statistically, T1 with an 1815 to a 1781 in gold per minute, a plus 51 to a minus 53. Advantages in first blood, first turret, 16% in dragons, and almost creeping up towards 2,000 in gold differential. As far as scoring, I wouldn't expect this to be that high scoring, but we'll take it over and have a look in a minute. T1 does have a pretty reasonable kill per win though, 18.1. If they do win and you get the lineup right, I could see them, I guess, having some value. I mean, you can see Teddy is up here in 6th, so at least they're thinking there's some value there. Kybrid in 3rd. So clearly the projections think there's some value for the 80 carries there at the very least. Ownership-wise, probably has to be LGD or Afrika in last place. I guess I would honestly probably go Afrika. Afrika with LGD coming next. I could see KT being after that. I doubt it'll be either one of the underdogs. I could see it being KT and then T1 right above that, given that I don't think people are going to want to mess with T1. And I think that's a reasonable thing to assume. Then you're probably looking at Rare Atom. I think both EDG and RNG should be pretty heavily owned. Dam1 I think is going to be pretty heavily owned. I guess FPX, if they're getting a lot of ownership taken, should be right around this place as well. I'm going to go with like LNG here, RNG, FPX, EDG, something like this. Dam1 actually is not likely to be the highest owned team though. Dam1's going to be fit in here somewhere as well. It might be something like here. Could also be Dam1 above RNG. RNG and EDG might actually be switched as well. Their prices are going to matter a lot for that. Let's reload this real quick because they're starting to put in tomorrow's LEC players, and they automatically hit this slate first for some reason. Pricing. So you're getting EDG's, at least in the top lane, EDG's way more expensive. In the jungle, it's about 400. In the mid lane, only 200, but EDG's a lot. Overall, as a team, is a decent amount more expensive. So maybe we're looking at RNG actually might end up being higher played than EDG because people are going to be looking to fit those guys into their lineups, I think. Something like this makes sense to me. Dam1 could be a little bit higher. These teams could be shuffled around a little bit, but I think this is almost certainly your top 4. This is almost certainly your bottom 4. You could see these two teams switch around if you wanted. Something like that makes a lot of sense to me. Looking at the favorites, I'm going to leave RNG and EDG in there to see where the projections lie on that front. EDG at the top, followed by RNG, then FPX, T1, and Dam1 and LNG towards the bottom, LNG at the bare bottom. So even though they're playing LGD, LNG kind of looking like a trap too if their average top lane scores are going to look anything like this. In the jungle, FPX, RNG at the top. EDG actually drops down a fair bit in the jungle. Dam1 in last place, Tarzan a bit higher. In the mid lane, it's actually Icon that's on top. Cryan in second. FPX drops down, so Doinby not having much of a season for scoring. EDG on the bottom for this one. At 80 carry, RNG up at the top again. EDG a little bit lower. They think EDG is going to play a little bit more controlled game if they win, but FPX consistently towards the top regardless of this. T1's been reasonable. They're in 5th, 4th, and 3rd so far. Dam1 again down towards the bottom, and by a margin. I mean, you're looking at Viper at 88 and Ghost at 77 as the bottom 2. So Showmaker right up in the battle pack there, but even Canyon, not a huge drop off for him, but he's the lowest. At support, FPX on top, RNG again, LNG, T1, EDG, and Dam1 down at the bottom. So I guess what it's saying is if you think RNG wins, they're going to be maybe your highest scoring or among your highest scoring teams on the slate. If you think it's EDG, there might be some better options for you. They think EDG is going to control the game a little better if they happen to win. Cash lineups on this slate. That's tough, to be honest with you. I mean, Dam1 probably has to be in there. Dam1 FPX or Dam1 LNG. Let's see. Those feel like the teams. For the record, I think if there's a kind of slate where maybe cash games are not in your best interest, this is the kind of slate where I would at least consider skipping cash games, because the game that I think is likely to be the highest scoring game, RNG and EDG, is a game that you don't really want to play in cash, and that's something that is bothersome for me. I'd rather play something like winner take alls on a slate like this, and then take my shot on RNG or EDG, because then I get paid for being correct a little bit better for taking the risk on those two teams. If we were going to play heads ups, though, I think I would go with one of these options. So it would either be Dam1 with FPX. It's just a straight 4-2. That seems reasonable. A 586.1. FPX and LNG. That's a jungle captain 4-2. I like that quite a bit. This is the kind of lineup I actually maybe wouldn't mind playing in cash, to be honest, at a 596.9. And then Dam1 LNG I'm going to assume is significantly worse, because yeah, you're getting support captain a 561. So I would play the FPX LNG if I'm playing heads up on this slate. That would be my go-to, I think. I think those teams are both very likely to win. You can maybe try to get some advantage off of the people who played the RNG EDG matchup if they're on the wrong side, because that matchup is so close. It's really hard to get a decent call out of that. And it optimizes to a perfect 4-2 with jungle captain, so nice and easy to build as well. Tarzan and Icon, just what you would want. The bottom lane from FPX. This seems like the heads up lineup if you're playing heads up. For GPPs, I just want to do a quick round table, like looking at like RNG, how do they fit with some of these other teams, and how does EDG fit? So you're just looking at AD carry captain with FPX and RNG. FPX EDG, you can still get a 4-2 with mid captain. What about like LNG and EDG? Mid captain. Assume that makes this AD carry captain. Yep, straight AD carry captain there. What about like Dam1? Mid captain even with Dam1. Dam1 with EDG. This is the kind of lineup I don't mind playing sometimes, because these two teams didn't fit as cleanly together. You get a top lane captain, but you do get 4 EDG. This is the kind of lineup I don't mind making into GPP, because this is something that people are not really going to be wanting to build, and it's definitely possible that EDG and Dam1 are the two highest scorers. So I like a lineup like this too. But basically what I'm pointing out there is, like, I just don't see a reason not to play RNG or EDG in every matchup. The matchup projects super, or in every lineup, the matchup projects super high. You're getting good captains with just about anybody you play it with. Whereas if you're playing, FPX LNG, that's not too bad. You're getting a jungle captain there. This could be a hedge GPP lineup. But you're still not getting the same captains you would get out of playing with either of these two teams, and they're in the highest projected matchup. So it feels like an RNG, EDG, every lineup smash night to me. Probably fading T1, probably fading the entire Dam1 game. Looking more towards like RNG, FPX, RNG, LNG, EDG, FPX, EDG, LNG. Maybe some rare Atom in there. And mostly staying away from the LCK with maybe a hedge or two for Dam1. So that's probably me tonight. Hopefully that's enough stuff for you guys. My throat's really starting to hurt a little bit, so I got to take a break on this one. But I'll be on the Discord, I'll be on Twitter, I'll be anywhere you need to talk to me if you want to talk about this slate. I'm definitely happy to talk to you about this slate. I'd love for somebody from the esports department to win the 50K. I'll say I've been an incredibly I've run incredibly solid in League of Legends DFS in my life. I've had periods where I thought I ran awful, but in general I've ran very solid. One thing I've not done though, I have not won a 50,000 or 100,000 in League. We've had shots at them, and I've not won them ever. So it'd be pretty cool for me to get my first like 50 plus thousand in a single tournament. So I'm gonna definitely be shooting for it, and I will see you guys out there tonight, and I'll see you in the Discord and on Twitter and everything. You guys have a good rest of the day. Talk to you later.